What do you like about Jordan Peterson versus what do you don't like about him? Pearl's not a grifter?
They can't exist in that space for a long time and not genuinely become that thing. I don't think Pearl's opinions now are the same that they were 3 years ago, but now I think she genuinely does believe everything. You start making friends in that world, you talk to people in that world, you get attacked by people on the other side, which is the best way to push you even further in that direction. So at this point, I'm sure she genuinely thinks women are evil, feminists are evil, divorces are just women f***ing men over, leftists are evil, conservatives are base, red pill people have a more realistic, she probably believes all of that. Just the zero-sum idea that a man is winning and a woman is losing. That in order for a man to win, a woman must lose. That is like that is one of the.
Do you think that conservatism is just completely dead? Like, do you think the next election is this too far?
And
he's
now,
a total narcissist.
Yep.
Like, wow. What do you like about Jordan Peterson? What do you think the things that he says? Because I have a surprise for you after this. We're going to dinner with someone that I think you're going to be happy with. Yeah.
Jordan Peterson?
No, but that knows a lot about him.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if I can't tell you. I can't tell you on air, but I'll tell you after.
Okay, that's really scary, but okay. Would they know who this person is? Or?
Somebody that knows him, like, well. He's my manager. But like somebody that knows him really well. If you want to, you don't have to.
Sure. No, I won't.
I've
wanted to talk to him for a long. I was close to talking to Michaela Peterson. She canceled me like 3 times.
You what?
I was close to talking to Michaela Peterson, and she ended up. She was going through some shit like a year ago, I think. Yeah.
Like the whole family goes through stuff. Mm-hmm. What do you like about Jordan Peterson versus what do you don't like about him?
Okay, I've given this explanation a lot.
Oh, okay.
Some people
I haven't seen this.
No. I'm sorry. You're good. So if it feels rehearsed, it's because Some people are really good at getting really high competency in something, and then having an understanding that there's a lot of depth to every topic in the world, right? Mm-hmm. Like, wow, I know a lot about a video game or a piano or music or some shit. I bet everything has a lot of complexity to it. Other people get really good at a thing, and for some reason they think it makes them experts at everything.
That's what you think Jordan is?
Yeah. So when he talks about psychology, not only is he smart, I think he says things that are genuinely really insightful, where it's like, oh, I'd never consider that. Like, there are some talking points.
Or does he just reword things?
Nope. I think he's genuinely insightful. Okay. I've heard novel things from him that I was like, that's pretty cool. I like his messaging here. I liked his self-help stuff, generally speaking, especially compared to Redpill space.
Yeah.
I like the messaging he had for young men, absolutely compared to Redpill. It's like, I genuinely vibe with most of it. When he starts talking about like history, politics, and social issues, then it's like, Jesus.
When he went to Daily Wire, like not a good situation.
I don't think so. I don't want to hear him talk about Elliot Page and how horrible trans people are for the 50 millionth time for society. I'd rather hear him talk about like what are the unique aspects of like men and women and dating and life and being successful and finding your mission in life. Yeah, those I thought were more interesting takes from him. Yeah.
So when I was growing up, there was couples that used to be able to do, right? You were Jewish, you were Christian, you could get together, you would date. You were different political, right? Mm-hmm. Democrat, Republican. Who's like James Carville and his wife, like completely different spectrums.
Okay.
Why do you think that people believe now what happened with politics? Like, it's a huge thing. I did a couple posts about politics on my page, and it was completely polarizing. So we can't, like, we couldn't date if I'm conservative and you're Democrat.
Okay.
Why?
I don't believe
fundamentally, that. I'm like, fundamentally, if we're attracted to each other, if we like to if we have things in common, if we like to go hiking together, if we have fundamentally the same values. I mean, I think the biggest difference is that, this whole pro-choice thing versus not, maybe a couple of things on trans, but why wouldn't I be able to date you? And why are people so stuck in their views?
I think that the issue that you run into is people are engaging in like absurd levels of self-selection right now, where given an app, people will be like, no blondes, no conservatives, nobody that didn't get vaccinated, nobody that like. I don't think people realize,
I think that there's so many other like, I'll find my exact archetype. Like, I will find the exact person that I want to be with.
Because people don't realize the wide plethora of people that they can get along with left to their own devices. Like, I think people forget sometimes that one of the issues with the internet is we have the ability to engage in infinite selection and choose exactly and tailor every single part of our lives to ourselves. But like, people forget that at the most fundamental level, when we start grade school, you're thrown into a classroom with 15 to 30 people that you could have totally different interests, backgrounds, races, whatever with you. I mean, the zip code you share. But like, despite that, most people in high school make friends, find relationships, like, they do okay, right? And that's totally different people. But given the opportunity to pick, there are people that you would get along with, that you would have the best time in the world with, maybe you'd even fall in love with, but seeing them on a dating app, you'd swipe left. There's a ton of people that I've met in my life who are like, you're like a conservative, I'm very far left, by the way. So like, you're like a conservative, you're an anti-vaxxer, you're like, have these crazy things, blah, blah, blah. But like, if I meet them in real life and we start like chatting and shit, like, oh, we get along a ton. I think you got crazy opinions, but it's kind of fun to fight with it. We get along like super well in like every other aspect. Like that, yeah, but you would never discover that if you're being hyper selective online and choosing who you hang out with, I think, which is bad.
Do you think that that's changed considerably because over the past 30 years because of this, like this hyper selectivity because of Bumble and all this?
Yeah, because the internet has made our lives probably a little bit too convenient. And some of the fun in human existence is kind of, it lives in the friction and it lives in the inconvenience. And sometimes it might not be the best thing in the world to take an elevator up to the 10th floor so that you can walk on a Stairmaster for 20 minutes. Like maybe it was better to just walk up and down the stairs because you miss a lot in the meantime, you know? That like the ability for us to choose micromanage every single part of our life, we're probably at some stages making bad choices, but we don't even realize it because we don't even know what we're missing, you know?
So maybe the new norm is just this population decline. Like where do you think that we're gonna level out if women are clearly not having as many children? We're going from what? Are we going to be at 4 billion? Are we going to be at 5? Like, where do you think that we're going to land? And is everything going to be okay? Is it as catastrophic as people think it's going to be?
I have no idea. The reality is even before the horrible feminists and the wokeists and all whatever the bullshit, even before all of that, the reality was once you become industrialized, your population always slopes off. It just, that's because the reason why a lot of people had, kids before is because a lot of them died. Like fucking 20% of your kids die after childbirth. Childbirth is really hard for humans. And then like a lot of your kids will die from disease and shit. Not everybody grows up. You need a lot of people to work for your family, et cetera, et cetera. Like you just had a lot of kids. But as your economies become more industrialized and you've got access to better healthcare, people start to have less children. And then as your economies become mega industrialized and women start to work, then you have even less children. And now we're in a world where given the opportunity to make infinite choices, not everybody wants to choose to like have a kid and not do anything in their 20s except for raise a child, you know? That's a really hard choice to make. Easier when it's thrust upon you.
So if you had a daughter, what would you say to her as far as like having kids?
I know, I would push my kid to be like the liberal dream. Like find the things that make you happy, pursue those things. Like don't make dumb choices just because people are telling you to do it. If you genuinely want to have kids when you're not 19, but when you're like, you know, early 20s, you find a guy, like go for it. But if you want to like explore and have a career and all that, like just make sure you're happy doing that too.
Well, did you know that you wanted to have a kid or was it an accident?
No, it was a super accident. Me and that mom, we hated each other.
Okay.
But we get along really well now. I'm glad I have my kid. He's super cool. But yeah, no, at the time it definitely was. That was.
What's like? I don't know if you can do this as far as like pros and cons. Here's the deal: is like I read a book by a German author, and when I was kind of going through my whole like, what do I want to do, and it was called Regretting Motherhood.
Jeez.
Women don't talk about certain things. They can't. Could you imagine being in a coffee shop and be like, so what do you think of motherhood? Well, actually, I fucking hate it. Like, worst decision of my life. So she completely kind of, everybody was anonymous. She changed the names. She interviewed this woman. She put it in the, an amalgamation of stories. It was like 10 different women who were telling their story about just all the things that they didn't know before and like, would they have done it again? And every single one was like, I wouldn't have done it again.
Every single one of them?
That was the book. Like that was she like interviewed,
yeah,
you know.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
But it was dark. I mean, it was. Look, I mean, I'm not gonna. I'm like I grew up without a dad. You know, like I want to hear the good and the bad. Like I want to give me the real stuff. Like I don't need to hear rainbows and butterflies. I don't watch like rom-coms. Like I watch Game of Thrones. Like let's go.
Yikes.
Do you don't watch Game of Thrones?
Unfortunately, I did. The last 2 seasons were the closest I've ever been to killing myself in my entire life.
All right, fine, fair point. But anyway.
But I know what you mean, yeah, go ahead.
I don't, like, I want to hear truth. And I think that, unfortunately, there's a lot of women who don't talk about the realities of having a kid and potentially doing it just because of societal pressure or because that they thought that they were supposed to. My brother just went to prison. And he up. He made a bad decision.
Generally, that precedes going to prison. Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, go ahead. No, that's okay. I understand what you're saying.
And I'm thinking, damn, I'm watching my mom kind of go through heartache, right? Like 75 years old, having to put your kid in prison because of a dumbass, stupid mistake that he made. And I think to myself sometimes, I don't think she'll really ever tell me like how that affected her, but I'm like, is that worth it? Like, are the pros and cons really worth it? Like, what do you do with that? How would that make you feel? Watching your kid, you like raise this kid, and now you have to like grieve the loss. I just feel like it's a lot of emotion. It's like a lot to take on.
Yeah, I agree.
So why have them?
Well, because there are good children too. Not to say your brother's a bad child. Sorry, that came off way harsh. I'm sorry, that was not how I intended it. But I'm saying like you can have, and actually even with your brother, I'm sure she's got a lot of good memories and good experiences with your brother. Like I've had some really bad relationships. I don't think I regret any of them though. Like I had like really good times, even the ones that ended unsuccessfully. Well, I guess all relationships that end are by definition unsuccessful. But yeah, like I had like really good times with most of them too. I wasn't dating anybody long term that was like the evilest person in the world. Like some relationships had little problems, but I imagine you see the children the same. Assuming nothing crazy is happening. Like you love your children and sometimes they make mistakes and that sucks and it's hard. I'm sure there's a tipping point, like Ted Bundy's mom probably didn't feel too great about her offspring. But then I mean like, sometimes children fuck up but I mean it happens. Yeah.
I don't know if that really answers my question, but maybe I'm still kind of soul searching on
how to the reality. The unsatisfying answer is the question is actually impossible to evaluate. That's the really difficult thing. So there's a weird concept in like behavioral econ it's very unintuitive. No, I'm sorry. It's actually intuitive once it's explained.
Then how do you ever know that you have regret? Like how do you know if can you ever make a decision based on that?
So here's what I'll show you. Okay. So there are if we were talking about heroin, and let's say we're a person, and what we say is, this is us right here. We've never done heroin before. Okay. What would the best engagement with heroin, what would it be? The best thing to do with heroin is you try it one time to get the experience, and then you stop. That'd be cool. You try it, you get the experience, and then you stop, and now you know what heroin's like. So that's one node we could be at. Another decision we could make is we don't ever do heroin, and we just don't have the experience, but no downsides.
We don't know what we're missing.
Yeah. The problem is that when we're making decisions as humans, we always assume that we're this decider the whole time. But what we don't realize is once we've made a decision, it fundamentally alters who we are sometimes, depending on what the decision is. So let's say that we're this guy. We're like, okay, here's what path I want to go. I want to do heroin one time, and then I want to stop. But the problem is this guy is not the same guy as this guy. This guy's done heroin, and now he wants to keep doing heroin. So even though
you don't know which trigger you're gonna pull,
you don't know what you're gonna be like after you have the experience. So this guy wanted to do this path, but this guy never chooses this path. But this guy here is not figuring out what this guy wants. He's just thinking about what this guy wants. So the issue when we talk about like having kids is it's really hard to say, do you regret having children or whatever? And it's like 12 or 13 years ago, I would have told you I don't want to have a child. But once you have a child, it's your baby. You see your baby, they have your DNA, you take care of them, you feed them and everything. It's like, I'm not going to say I regret my child, but like you're fundamentally different at that point. So evaluating whether that was a good or bad decision is almost impossible because you, as the subject of that question, did you regret it? Well, no, because I became somebody different once it happened. So that's what makes it really hard to evaluate the family things,
So you would never know what you're missing.
Kind of, yeah.
With anything in life, though, like if you
that's arguably, it's a hard thing, but yeah, true. Like you could argue the same with drugs, you could argue the same with certain careers.
So then regret is a choice, essentially.
I mean,
if people make it to the end of their life and you're like, what do you regret? It's like, how do you even know how to answer that?
It's a difficult. Yeah, that's a difficult thing. Because like how many people you'll meet, and Redpill is all the time, like you meet tons of people in their 30s and 40s like, oh, I wish I would have just had kids. And I'm sure there are some women that think that. But there's also probably people that did have kids who are like, fuck, like my sister gets in trouble so much because they do these fun things. And I'm like, this is the rest of my life is like my kid's 6.
Every one of my brothers are like, dude, enjoy your freedom.
Yeah.
Go. Don't do it.
So it's just, that's like it's really hard to evaluate what the correct decision is there. You just have to keep your mind open, your options open. You have to follow your heart, do what you want, and try not to fall into that grass is always greener on the other side. Have you ever seen a show called Rick and Morty?
I mean, I know of it. It's been years since I used to watch it.
There's an episode. I'm not going to be able to. There's an episode that one of these episodes is based off of another piece of media, and I can't remember what that other piece of media is. But basically, there's an episode where Morty and his sister are fighting a ton, and then the parents are like miserable, and they're like, I hate this. And then Rick gives them a pair of glasses that lets them see into other realities where they didn't have kids. Right? So they look into these realities, and obviously they start looking into these realities, and in all these other realities they didn't have kids, like the wife is like an actress, the husband is like wildly successful, like they have all these cool things going on in life. Obviously, because it wants to be a nice show, by the time it ends, what they find out is like, even though they have these nice things, like they're still like kind of miserable. They wish they had kids in these other lives, so they have to. It's one of those things where it's like the grass isn't always greener. Like there's things you could be missing on both sides, and that's what I'm saying. To circle back on all of this, I'm sorry. Whenever people ask, like, do you regret this thing? That's so hard to know because you're so different by the end of every experience. It's truly difficult or impossible to evaluate what you would have wanted to do otherwise, because that person that would have done the different thing would have been completely different by the end of it. Yeah.
So if you're giving dating advice, if you were me, what would you summarize to people as far as everything that you know, whether it's Redpill, whether it's finding your wife? You said you were in a toxic relationship before with the mother of your child. Like, what is it that you would advise people to do as far as finding a partner?
The thing that I feel like people need to do the most important thing, and this is true of every single area of your life, professional, sexual, relationship, like everything, is you really have to figure out who you are. You need to develop a very high sense of self-confidence, and you need to figure out what do I want my path to be in the world? Not like they're telling me this, that telling me, like what really makes me happy. And that is a big process of self-discovery that I'm sure a billion people have written books on. I can't tell someone to do that. But once you've like truly fleshed and figured that out, then once you've done that, now you can figure out who do I want to socket into my life. Like if you spend...
But you figured that out. It's like not a lot of 20-year-olds are figuring that out.
Well, I mean, I've had a high self-confidence, but I get to reiterate, my child was definitely a mistake. It wasn't like we planned on that. That was an oops thing. But
okay.
I had kind of a lucky development period where when I was 15, 16, I was very Catholic growing up. And then I became an atheist, and I spent like a lot of time thinking about like, what do I want in life? Like what makes me happy? So I've been able to independently navigate like pretty well. But there's a very careful balance between like independent navigation and not just being like a rebel. Because you don't want to just do the opposite, because then you will be miserable. But I think that what a lot of people end up as miserable as is they don't take that time to figure out what do they really like. Somebody else sells them a plan for life. They follow that plan, but then once they hit a certain point, the incongruency between what they would have wanted and what they were sold, it gets too big. And then they're like, fuck me. Like, I'm 32. I've got like 2 kids, but like I don't even want to be here. Like, I don't like this. Like, my life sucks. And now I realize that, like...
But don't you think that's like 80% of people?
Yeah, probably sometimes, yeah. This is why I like, in some ways, I like the liberal project. And this is why it's better than Dubai and all these other dumb countries these people jerk off all the time.
Have you been there?
No, but people...
I mean, I've heard enough about it literally through all these red pill spaces.
I don't mean like physically the city's bad. I'm just saying like all these like America sucks and the Western world sucks. But I mean like the cool thing about it is that like liberalism gives a lot of us the ability to explore in non-judgmental ways that historically were never available before. I think there's a little bit of a problem that a lot of us with no guardrails start making crazy decisions. We probably need a little bit of guidance, but the ability to kind of like explore and figure that out on your own, I think is relatively unique for a mass population of this
So do you
planet.
think tradcon wives are just these like little bunnies that are walking around like, yeah, you're right, honey? Like, do you think that they've actually... Have you met an intelligent tradcon or like an intelligent woman who is a conservative who has the ability to have like critical thinking skills and an argument or...
I think tradcon wives that genuinely want to do it are the happiest people in the world. Tradcon wives that get forced into it are the most miserable people in the world. Like I'm trying to think of like tradcon wives that liked it. I don't know if I know any, but also keep in mind the types of women and the types of people I talk to are going to skew more towards my ideology. Yeah. I'm sure there are a lot of tradcon wives like, I have met a lot of women that are like, I heard about the tradcon thing, I've talked about the tradcon thing, and I'm doing the tradcon thing, and I'm miserable, because truly they'll never say the F word, but truly in their deepest cores, they are hardcore feminists. They really love their independence. They really love working. They like pursuing projects on their own. They like to have these strong independent lives. They want a husband too, but they don't want that trad cod, like be in the household and be subservient to a man and take orders all day or whatever. Like, yeah. But
who, the tradcon is a feminist?
A lot of the ones that I know, yeah. Like, for instance, when you go to any of these like conservative women that are like on these programs, do you know Jedediah?
Yes.
Oh, wow, okay. So we argue a lot, and it's really funny because
I'm
she's
not a fan.
Sure, she's fighting with me on her show about how like liberals tell women to do all this and blah, but women are truly happy in the home, and I'm like, excuse me, lady. You said you have. I think she. I know this isn't a personal.
No. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, because she's got a 3-year-old child, but she jumped right back into work.
But she's also 44, and she's shaming women for not making these like the hypocrisy.
But she's like the ultimate feminist. She really is.
Yeah,
she's got a huge career, super successful, loves being argumentative, loves fighting people, and I love that for her. I think it's great. She's like she's the type of person I would vibe really well with.
But don't you think she's just going for the coin? Don't you think that like she met Patrick Bet-David, and you know whether she wanted a better life with her kid, maybe she said, okay, I'll work part-time now, like I'll kind of I'll kind of say, I don't think her at home is her online. I think this is a persona or something.
I have no idea. I never assume anybody's grifting, because it's actually really rare that I meet a grifter. A lot of people assume
Pearl's not a grifter?
No, I think Pearl's genuinely retarded. I don't think she's grifting. I think that what happens is this is how if grifting happens, this is how I think it happens. Somebody might enter a space and they're like, I bet if I play this up a little bit, I can probably like get more viewers here. Okay. But they can't exist in that space for a long time and not genuinely become that thing. Okay. You'll wear the mask long enough that it'll melt onto your face.
Wow.
Like, so there might be some people that go into it. Like, I don't think Pearl's opinions now are the same that they were 3 years ago, but now I think she genuinely does believe everything, because you start talking to all this.
I haven't been watching her for that long. For the 3 years that she's all I see is
you start making friends in that world. You talk to people in that world. You get attacked by people on the other side, which is the best way to push you even further in that direction. So at this point, I'm sure she genuinely thinks women are evil, feminists are evil, divorces are just women men over, leftists are evil, conservatives are base, red pill people have a more realistic. Like, she probably believes all of that now. 100%.
Your roast with her and Ethan was like, I think one of the best videos you've.
I think we should ban divorce too. Yeah, I think that should be banned.
She has no idea. She wants to abolish divorce, which is an incredibly radical position, but she doesn't have any idea how any part of the legal system works. I've spent all of 90 minutes researching divorce, okay? And I know the answers to all of these questions. She's supposedly doing a documentary. The reason why irreconcilable divorce is what's written on a lot of things is because when you go to court and you file for divorce,
family court is based off of a balance of probability. So it means it's more like
balance of probabilities is based on evidence. Ethan, can I call in?
People change, right? Especially when people get married young.
Ethan's not prepared enough on the legal arguments.
People go through shit. People grow apart. A lot of the men who end up being abusive you hear were one way.
I wish Ethan knew that phrase. All of Pearl's arguments rest on her not understanding what a preponderance of evidence is. Like, every single argument Pearl is making is her misunderstanding.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Nice job, Ethan.
I've never done it. I mean, I think I watched it twice.
That conversation was unbelievable. I can't believe how.
I guess, okay, break down, because and I don't know how long we have, but like I'm getting into the red pill space. I don't even know where I fit. I mean, maybe we go out to dinner. You can kind of tell me like where I even fit in this. But it's like, I want to have a voice. Originally, I started this because my dad died, right? It fucked up our family. Mm-hmm. It messed with my brothers, not having a father figure. Mm-hmm. The statistics are there as far as what happens to boys, especially, right? Jail, suicide, whatever. So for me, it was originally getting into the fact that, look, as women being participants in a relationship, what my mom didn't teach me was how men truly work. Like, what do they really want in a relationship? And like, as far as their logic, as far as much as they work, like, don't nag them, right? Like, don't emasculate them. Don't just be a partner with them. But if women aren't being taught, that was my role as coming in. It's like, let me be your bigger sister. And like, let me show you all the things that I didn't know. Now I'm thrusted in this space, but I don't want to just be like, hey guys, I'm gonna suck your dick. Like, I'm not a Pearl. That's not what I want. But I also want to help women and men just, and I know you have your opinions on this as far as kind of we're more alike than we are different. But I also think that there are fundamental things for example, like I didn't understand when a man isn't paying attention to me when he's working or when he's like gone for 10 hours. It's not that he's not like thinking about me, but he's just busy. But like women, sometimes you're always on our mind. Like we would love to text you or we would love to hear from you. And we not knowing that like can cause a lot of like safety signals to go off within women.
True.
So that's the kind of stuff that like I want to teach on is like just basic fundamental like differences between men and women. I guess my question is like, are there any people within this space that like are doing it justice? And if like you could manufacture, if you could give me advice or like anybody that like wants to get in this space, where do we focus on that's like healthy versus red pill bullshit versus Uber psychology versus Jordan Peterson? Like if you're a dating coach, like what would be an ideal dating coach?
Okay, I'm not trying to load this as much with my personal opinion, but there are two huge things. One is something I'll say needs to happen everywhere, regardless of a personal opinion.
Okay.
Relationships and sex need to stop being a zero-sum game because it is the most cancerous shit in the world. The idea that every time a man woman, a man is gaining something and a woman is losing something. These hyper adversarial relationship dynamics are so toxic.
So super black and white, like we're
no, not even black and white, just the zero sum idea that a man is winning and a woman is losing. That in order for a man to win, a woman must lose. That is like that is one of the, it is a bedrock belief. Even if these people don't realize it, this is like an axiomatic belief to all of these situations. When a man and a woman are dating, the man is winning because he's getting older and he's gaining value and the woman gives him value. The woman is losing because she's losing value as she gets older. When a man a woman, the man is only doing so because he's at higher status. When he's with that woman, he's socially signaling to other women that he's high status. The woman is losing because she's been ran through, right? All of these situations that they set up are zero sum, where if hopefully the man is winning and the woman is probably losing to some extent. So that's one thing that has to go. The super adversarial dating dynamics are super cancer. The second thing, I would fight on this, but it's going to be hard. There has to be relationships are built on mutual respect. Even if you are going to say at the end of the day that like maybe the man has the final call on some things, okay, not to get personal, when people say things like in a relationship the man leads and the woman follows, the man has the final say on things, this is exclusively said by people that have never been in real relationships before. Because in real relationships, the reality is the domain of expertise of both people are really different. The man is not telling the woman, you better be using Clorox bleach in the bathroom. Like if the woman is at home cleaning, she's making the final call on all of that, right?
Totally.
Yeah, the man is not saying that like, don't tell the teacher this about little Johnny. Like chances are if the woman is stay-at-home mom, she's keeping up with the education, right? The woman is not telling the man like, you better take that opportunity in the office and work on that project, because the man is the one working. She's not, right? So people that do these weird things like the woman follows the man leads. No, everything is made as a partnership. There's never been a history where relationships worked well where the guy's like, dude, honey, I'm so excited. I got an opportunity for a promotion. We're going to move from Washington to Florida. Like pack your shit up. We're leaving tomorrow. That's never going to happen.
I mean, it did, and it.
Well, it can, but usually it
doesn't work out very well.
Yeah, if it's just, I'm not saying that a man can't say like, I got it, like let's talk about this. I got a promotion. We can do this, but yeah. Also, this is something else I noticed, and this is another thing that drives me crazy for all these red pills. And anytime I hear people give these examples, I know you have no experience in relationships. Anytime people talk about like men need to be strong and men need to lead and all this, and I always try to give examples. For everything I give, I try to give an example. And whenever they give examples on this, their example is always like, what if somebody breaks into the house and I've got to grab a shotgun and fucking kill him? Or what if we're walking home from dinner, I've got to choose which alley we go down. It's either rape alley, murder alley, or the one with the knives. Who's going to protect you, right? And it's like, bro, like these guys talk like they're fucking James Bond. Like what is like an average, like your average relationship, like your biggest fights are not that dramatic. Usually it's over shit like the guy's not willing to do any dishes after dinner, the woman is like bugging the guy too much when he's at work. Like usually the fights that are really dramatic are not about fucking people getting murdered. But every example they give about like the man leading is always like some life or death Jason Bourne situation.
Well, they talk about protecting and providing, and I'm like, wait, protecting you against what? Like, when's the last time I saw a lion in the wild like coming to get me and my baby?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't, that doesn't happen.
And the kill shot to that too is like, if a woman wants to stay safe, the best bet is to just never date a man, because the most threat to a woman is usually domestic violence. Yeah, so it's not even like a good argument. And then for providing, these guys are all advocating dating 20 women at once anyway. You're not providing for every woman that you like, what are you talking about? Like, I think it's stupid.
Are you gonna have Pearl on? Are you ever gonna debate her? Like,
I'm not going on her show anymore. Her shit is just off the chain. Everything on Twitter is basically just like the most disgusting shit that you could ever say about women, and it's just a stream of it, of like actual vomit. For a while, I thought maybe she didn't run it and she got like some like Nigerian guy to just like go on ChatGPT and like give me like 30 tweets like shitting on women in the most passive aggressive manner possible. But yeah, I don't know. I'm good on that. If she wants to like come onto my stream or argue on some other platform, I'd do it. But I don't think I would go to her stream.
Is there anybody that's like giving somewhat good advice? Like anyone you could think of out of all of them? Sneeko.
No.
I don't know anything about him. I just hear his name come up all the time.
Okay.
Alan Preach, maybe?
Abba and Preach are generally pretty grounded.
Yeah.
The thing that sucks is that like it's almost like there's like a filter where it's actually true of politics too. There's almost like a filter where like generally the people that want to give all the advice are usually the most unhinged ones. So like Abba and Preach, in my opinion, most of what they give is decent advice, but they're not like coaches. They would never want to be like, yeah, we're that. They just like talk about things that are interesting to them. I would say that like there are vestiges of like the PUA community that still does okay. So there's a guy called Playing with Fire. His name is Alex.
I know him.
Yeah, he's like pretty cool. I'm sure there are others out there. I just don't know them. But like generally, if you call yourself Redpill, you're giving dog relationship advice. Actually, you're usually never giving relationship advice. You're usually just giving advice about how to fuck as many women as possible. That's basically all they talk about.
So do you think that, switching to politics, do you think that conservatism is just completely dead? Like, do you think the next election... Is this too far? I don't know.
No, that's fine. I think Republicans made a deal with the devil, and the devil has come to collect. They threw in all their eggs into the Trump basket, which was crazy, and everybody knew it was crazy 7 or 8 years ago. No offense if you like him, but he's insane.
I do not.
Sure, and
he's
now
a total narcissist. Like, well, how do you?
And he doesn't care about the Republican Party or conservatism. And now here we are, 7 years later, and now the chickens have come home to roost. He's staring down the barrel of several federal indictments, state indictments. He's a crazy mess of a person. The Republicans have no leadership in the party right now. Every other day, I'm either getting another picture of Hunter Biden's dick or a new piece of like anti-trans swimming legislation. They have no platform. Like,
I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
If Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses.
That is correct.
In the future.
Wait, what the is this? To wrap up Pride Month, let's hear from a politician more than any other Republican to celebrate it. Bro, what is happening?
Bathroom she chooses.
That is correct.
In the future, can transgender women compete in Miss Universe?
Yes.
Make America great again.
What is happening here?
I cannot think of anything more horrifying.
Wait, can somebody find my tweet the picture that I tweeted like a few days ago? Open R Conservative to see what they're talking about. Trans agenda, Hunter Biden's cock, pride flags, Hunter Biden's cock, trans agenda. Here's how Trump can still win. Pride flags, trans agenda, school reading scores low. They banned all the books. Hunter Biden's cock, trans tits at the White House, Hunter Biden's cock. Like, it's actually, literally, like, what the Yeah, I think the Republicans made a really big deal about engaging with Trump, and it's backfired now. So I don't know where that's going to end up at. Yeah.
So who is the person? And I've honestly, this is your stitch, I know, but like politics is not my thing.
Sure.
I'm not into it. I don't really find it to be very thought stimulating. I know. I love America. I mean, I'm a huge American fan, but I am actually pro-choice. Like 100%, a woman should absolutely have the choice. But unfortunately, I feel like that is the sticking point for everybody, for a lot of people, is that that is the line in the sand. And there is no black or white. There is no a lot of guys that follow me, and please don't post this. Well, fine, you can if you want, but I'll lose a shit ton of followers. A lot of the guys that
I'll just censor this part out. Okay,
that's all right. A lot of the guys that follow me are very conservative because I talk about male and female dynamics, and it always is an interesting social psychology experiment because I'm going. So because you can't be a liberal and be a masculine man, it's like that's where they go. It's just this black or white thinking. If you're a liberal, you're cuckold or whatever. There's no emotion tied to it. So that's my problem. And personally, with the Conservative Party, is that I don't feel as though there is any black and white thinking. It is either you are for or you are against. And being, in the liberal mind space, there's a little bit more discussion. There's like a discord. No? You think they're pretty polarized as well?
I think everybody's pretty polarized. I think that there's things I hear from a lot of different people. This is why I would encourage you as a man. I think it's really good to have a really healthy balance of like masculine traits and a really healthy balance of feminine traits, because it makes you really well-rounded, and women will want to be around you way more. Is you do run into a lot of like leftist liberal guys who are like really cucked. Not like in the literal sense of like they want their partners, but like they don't really have a backbone. They come off as like really simpy. They're like too many, like they don't want to offend anybody and blah blah blah. And I have talked to people on the left who are like, I kind of want to date a conservative guy because I just want like a guy that's like kind of manly, doesn't give a fuck, is like more out there, blah blah blah. And they like I think I've talked to enough women that do want something like that. But I've also talked to a lot of women on the right who are like, conservative men are dog shit.
Super
half of them are fucking
controlling,
schizoids. Half of them are narcissists, super controlling.
Yeah.
They act like they're the of the walk, the king of the fucking world. This motherfucker earns $55,000 a year. He's 50 years old. He's not all that. Like, or these guys are like abusive. They do too much cocaine. They are too pushy and shit when it comes to sexual. Like blah blah blah. Like. So yeah, like there needs to be more of a conversation, because there are really good traits from both sides. Like people that skew too far left, there is an attractive aspect to masculinity, to guys with a lot of self-esteem, a lot of confidence, a lot of like own rooms, these people that have like these backbones, that's fun. But for the guys on the right, there is also, and they'll never believe it, but there is a lot of attraction to a guy that has like a really healthy balance of feminine traits. And like every good, I always use examples, like every good pickup artist knows this. Like, if I'm invited over to a girl's house and she's got like an animal, like if I make the animal like me, like it's over. Like every girl that I've ever hooked up with has got like a picture of me like holding her cat, and the cat like right, or like if you get along well with like a woman's like child or shit like that, like it's over. But like people are just so like dug in on their fucking sides that it's just like the conversations are brain dead. And
last night it just kept on coming up over and over again. We spent 2 hours on one subject. I'm like, this is not going anywhere. But they kept on saying that women it's women's fault because women are rewarding bad boy qualities. And I'm like, wait a minute, is it women that are rewarding bad boy qualities, or are you tricking women with manipulating them into this, and then they become smarter? And what is a bad boy? I think women don't really, essentially, they don't want a bad boy. Like they want confidence, and they want self-esteem. Like they want the things that you're talking about, but this,
they can only find it in like the kind of the bad boy people. But that's another thing where people are like, women really do want bad boys. Like, no, it's a proxy for these other traits. And incels will fight to the death. Like, no, women want bad boys. Like, show me a 300-pound, smelly, overweight dude that sells weed. Women are not like, yeah, he's a drug dealer, I want that guy. No, the archetype of like the bad boy is usually somebody who's very confident, usually somebody who's pretty pro-social. He's got a lot of friends, he can talk to a lot of people. They might have some masculine features, they're taller, facial structure, whatever, but like it's usually like a really funny, cool kind of guy, right? And now they might have other schizoid problems too, but they carve out a lot of the traditional masculine features, And then I also agree with you there's a lot of like mind games that are being ran by men on women that also cause everybody, because like I think women are to blame for a lot of things, but then I think men are to blame for a lot of things, and I think we all kind of like mind each other. One huge argument I got in a long time ago has to do with the whole idea of like, when a woman says no, does no mean no? And it's like, generally yes, but like, so here's like an interesting thing. If you ask a woman immediately if she wants to hook up, generally she'll say no, but it's not always because she doesn't want to hook up. It's because she doesn't want to be treated like a slut, or she doesn't want people to think she's a slut.
Right.
But like, now obviously if a woman says no and she really means no, and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing, you might end up in a really bad situation. But other times if a woman says no and you're kind of polite and you wait and blah, 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 sometimes things turn out good. So women are playing these like weird games where they're not always forthcoming what they want because they're concerned about their safety and their reputation. But then on the other side, you get men, I'll point to something that Myron says, a guy's goal should be by the age of 35, you need to 50 women, and then you need to settle down with a virgin. And it's like, your lifestyle is creating the very types of women that you don't want to have anything to do with when you're going to settle down. And like, all of these contradictions in terms of like how we maneuver through the world is like destroying like our ability to associate with each other. And we all kind of like contribute, like women might complain about like, I don't like how much makeup you got to wear as a woman to be presentable. And also we're all going to get BBLs, facelifts, and fucking fake boobs. And it's like, everybody is like destroying themselves on, guys will be like, I don't want women that are just gold diggers. And anyway, I rented a $20,000 Rolex and a Lambo so that I could take a girl to dinner tonight. It's like, well, what the kind of girl you think you're going to get? It's
I just want to be a fly on the wall. I just want to go out to dinner with these guys and like be a fly on the wall and see what they talk about with their dates. Like, what do the women have to bring to the table if they're 23 years old? But then the argument that they were also saying last night was, well, but men are attracted to younger women, but that doesn't mean that they want to, like, that's not relationship material. So again, like you're going back to, it's a 23-year-old, have sex with a 23-year-old, but then like settle down with like 28, 29. And then it's so contradictory because women are more picky, but I'm sorry, wait a minute. Didn't you just tell me that you have a litany of tests or a litany of things that you want in a woman? And how are women more picky than men as far as in their view? Like that we want the provider, we want the protector, we want the guy who's making six figures, but then you want the 23-year-old virgin.
Who's a virgin and hot as fuck and like, yeah, it's just...
Is that not the same thing?
Yeah, it kind of is. It's all, I think it's all stupid. But yeah, no, I agree, yeah, because that, yeah. I hate this. I hate this whole arena.
You hate this.
A lot of it is it's so stupid, yeah. And then I agree with you, like, what are these like conversations like where you got like a 34-year-old like business guy who's like trying to wife up, I guess, a 19-year-old virgin? Like, what does that even look like, you know?
It's
not to say that that's always impossible.
Well,
but yeah.
I'll tell you, I have a client who was working with, or who was about to, I think he still is, I don't know, I'm not working with him anymore, but there was no relationship skills. They would fight. I'm talking things about stuff that I didn't even know that people could fight about. And he was 38. She was a virgin, and he's like, Sarah, I don't know if this is the right decision. Like, they were about to get married, and he's like, there's no peace. She has absolutely zero communication skills. You learn this stuff when you're 18 years old or 20 years old, getting into a relationship. For your first, year or two, whatever the first relationship is, like, this is where you cut a rug. So it was a nightmare for him. And I go, dude, why didn't you choose someone who was 30 or 32, somebody who you had a little bit more in common with? So I feel like the message that they're sending, the grass is not greener. Like what they say that these women are, it's not what you want. You don't want to be with a 22-year-old. Like, leave them to figure their shit out. Find somebody who has a little bit more experience. I don't know. I mean, you got lucky, I guess, with she's 24.
Not lucky. Yeah, it's been a lot of deliberate work. And there's been a lot of times where it's like, this is I don't know if we could do this. So no, it's funny because like
she's European though. So I feel like Europeans are a little bit more mature. I mean, they travel on tubes. They go to they go to school,
Yeah. No, I mean, like
they're
she
put
went
in
like
social situations that challenge them a little bit more than us.
Sure, and she was already like traveling the world by the time I met her, so she was a bit ahead of the curve. But like most of the issues in our relationship stem usually from she's still kind of like figuring out like what do I want in life, what do I want in a relationship, and I've like kind of already figured that out. So yeah, like we get a lot of like contention in those areas, but she's like figured it out. But then it's also like you have to recognize as the older person, it's a big risk for you because that person might grow to realize I don't want a relationship with you, and now you've wasted 5 years in a relationship. They've learned a bunch about themselves, and you're still the same. And you're just kind of like,
Who, wait, say that again. The older person or the younger person?
I think there's a risk on the older person sometimes that people don't realize. If you're 32 and you go to date a 20-year-old, that 20-year-old still doesn't know what they want. By the time they're 25, they might not want you. Yeah. At 32, you probably know what you want, but you're taking a big risk by being with that younger person because, And then arguably the younger person can take a risk too because if they get pregnant, then they're fucked, arguably, depending on how that goes. So, and if they find out they don't like that relationship. So, but yeah, there's a lot of risk. Yeah, it's generally better to pair up like with more, but also historically, that's how it works. The average difference in age in relationships
is 2.3 years, right?
Yeah, but if you ask a Redpill, they say probably 5 or 10 years.
No.
That's what they'll say. Yeah, and they're like, oh no, women want guys that are way older. And it's like, no, the average age difference is not that big. But then everybody's like, well, my mom dated her professor and she's like 45 and he's like 60. It's like, yeah, that's abnormal.
I think I just looked up the stat and it was 8% that had 10 years or more married in the United
It's pretty
States.
rare. Yeah.
Want to go to dinner or do we keep going?
No, we can go. This went way longer than I thought. So, yeah. Do anything? Do you want to plug your stuff or where can people find you?
Oh, sure. Yeah. See, I'm new at this. I don't even know how to do that. Sarah Dawn Moore on YouTube. That's the main platform. Yeah, come follow me. My advice is more based on psychological, a little bit of evolutionary psychology, a lot of the, kind of that Robert Glover. Did you ever read No More Mr. Nice Guy?
No, but I don't believe in. I only read Wikipedia. But go ahead.
Fucking what?
What?
That's a dinner conversation. Why Wikipedia? You think Wikipedia is? Are you making a joke?
No, I'm just really lazy. It's because I stream a lot. I don't have time to fucking read books. Okay, I try to read a little bit in the morning, but like I have like books that takes me forever to get through. But sorry, go ahead. Donald Glover,
I
good
don't know.
book.
I just I try and help men and cure them of their codependency because that is at the heart. I know you hated that word, but let's clear their clinginess to women and give them a little bit of backbone, give them some tools to like figure their shit out. learn how to vet properly, because the women that they go after is shit as well. So yeah, go follow me there and like learn some skills.